Welcome to the Kiba Live Podcast. The Kiba Live Podcast brought to you by the Kiba Agency. Restoring Hope. The Wild Child Workshop. And S&B Calgon Water. I'm your host, William Lee, and today we're going to talk about what's safe at your public schools. Welcome, everybody. It's great to have you here with us today. I'm going to be touching on a topic today that just scares me to death, and I'll be very honest with you. Today on the air, I was naturally going through some of the different areas of search through Google, and I was looking at the horrible problems that we now have with the safety in our schools. A lot of you folks know that just recently a tragedy struck at this school in Spokane, Washington, where a young man decided that bullying had to stop. And the only way that he felt that he could stop that bullying is by, first of all, writing a suicide note and leaving it behind, and then loading ammunition, a handgun, and an assault rifle, and showing up at school to do one horrible, tragic deed. What do we do in a situation like this? How does it start? And what really do you think about when you hear all of them now flying over or headed towards your son or daughter's school? What are you thinking about? Are you thinking about the tragedy that is now occurring? Are you wondering what happened? Are you saying to yourself, this cannot happen to my child in my school or in my community? What's happening? What's going on? As you know, through the last few years, school shootings have really occurred month after month after month. Many students have passed. Teachers have been killed. Employees of school districts have risked their life and lost their lives to defend and protect our children. Well, some people are going to say, Bill, the problem is gun control. That's it. Bill, you just don't see the picture. I did see the picture the other day when I went into an elementary school on a community project with the Fruitland Grange. When we first went into the front door of the school, it had a big, huge reader board. I mean big. And it said, do not leave any of your students here before 8:30 in the morning. Don't be on those grounds before 8:30. Immediately, I felt kind of a funny feeling, like, this is a public school. How could we be so scared to have our kids here before 8:30 in the morning? Then, naturally, we had to check in. And this school has not been updated yet with the newest technical equipment. It just has a simple camera staring at you. You push a button. You tell the receptionist who you are and what you want or why you're there. And then they go beep and the door is unlocked and you can walk in. Wow. I felt kind of, I guess, comfortable after I got into the lobby. I saw a little guy, he's probably in the second or third grade, walk by, and I thought to myself, how could this happen in our schools? How could the violence be so escalated that in our junior highs, high schools, and any school now, college included, that somebody could come in and absolutely terrorize the students and kill people? Just kill them. In Spokane, I think the highlight of that, if you could call anything being a highlight, of that shooting was the young man who was his best friend, the shooter's best friend, actually trying to talk him out of what he was about to do. Oh, I wonder what went through that young man's mind as he stood there in front of the man, I should say, boy, who was about to take his life. Wonder what that conversation was like. We'll never know, will we? The young boy took out an assault rifle. And where we got a young man at that age with an assault rifle is a mystery to me. The rifle malfunctioned, and within seconds, the young man pulled out a pistol and shot his best friend to death, hitting him twice. The story unravels from there, where 4 more were injured, and a janitor stepped in between the boy and the next target and wrestled him down to the ground. A lot of people will look at me and say, Bill, it's gun control. You just got to get in it. Guns have no place on the streets. Well, where's my argument to this? It's very simple. I have never seen a gun yet that got off a shelf, out of a drawer, off a table, loaded itself, and then shot somebody. I've never seen it. I don't think it's ever happened. Then people are going to say, well, you're living back in the old days. You know what I mean? Back in the old days. And you're not coming to the reality that we don't need guns anymore. Well, maybe we do and maybe we don't. But I know one thing for sure, that in 1776, when the fighting began to save this country, there wasn't a decision if we needed guns or not. The decision was simply this. We needed to protect our families. We needed to protect our homes. We needed to protect our livestock. Now, as time goes on, naturally, we don't have livestock to protect unless we're, in Montana or out in the range or in Wyoming or in the South, or even in some of the larger farms here in Washington. We really still protect our livestock. But we have guns, and they're in the house. The point I want to make about this is that there's guns in many of the houses. But let's zero in onto the problem here. Columbine, automatic weapons. How did this, in Spokane, young man get a hold of an assault rifle? An assault rifle. Now, I can't figure out anybody that needs an assault rifle to go hunting. Maybe I'm still old-fashioned, but the right to bear arms means the right to bear arms. But military arms and heavy artillery, well, I don't know if that belongs in the home or not. And I really can't see somebody putting a bazooka in their closet in case of a break-in. So we have this argument going about gun control. But let's get to the heart of this situation. Let's wake up America. Is it not possible that we have an epidemic of PCism that is racing through all phases of life and now affecting our kids? That being politically really correct. Well, little Johnny, he might have a little bit of a speech problem, and maybe he's not really publicly acceptable because he stutters, or maybe because of his haircut, or maybe because of the clothes he wears, or the way he acts, maybe because of his personal hygiene. He is just not really PC correct for this type of environment. So that's okay, kids will be kids. Let's take a look at the other side, that young man that you've just put in a category who really doesn't understand. How much pressure do you think he can take by bullying, by kids ignoring him, by having different programs of the environment just kind of attack him, just kind of reach out and grab him and say, "You're no good. You don't belong here. You're not one of us. You're not a super jock. You're not a college potential NFL player. You're just a kid. Your parents don't have the money like mine does because I have designer clothes and shoes on." Of course, the schools had an answer for that immediately. Dress them in uniforms. We saw how that happened many years ago when the state of Washington school district tried that trick and it didn't work. As we all know, we still have freedoms. No matter what you do in any society or culture or village or town or city, you're going to have different people, different customs, different ways of life blending in. The schools are the same. Just because these are younger people, they're still in communities. They're still in the classrooms. They're still in school. There's still a social world around them. Now, Bill, you're just going off the edge of the desk. You're wrong on this whole thing. Absolutely wrong, folks. The problem is that we need, one, to eliminate the guns, as we've discussed. Number two, we need to make sure that our kids are in the proper schools and taken care of properly. Well, that's very true. And taxpayers pay big dollars to take care of schools, to get education, funding, new buildings. State of Washington has just added a new 2.3%, I believe it is, property tax to cover up the fact that they couldn't make up their mind throughout these many, many months on how to finance schooling. Oh, wait a minute. I'm getting off the track. I've got to put my soapbox away and get off the beaten trail of what's going on with all the money that seems to never get to where it's targeted for. I need to get back to the actual problem of schools. Kids today are in a faster world. Kids today are in a lower parented world. Now, I'm not saying that to attack parents. Please don't misunderstand me or send me a bunch of hate email. What I'm saying is that nowadays most parents, to just survive, to pay the rent, the bills, to keep the clothes on the child, to get him back and forth to school, to give the nice things that he deserves, has to work 2 jobs because the economy is so bad. They're not at home anymore. They're out working. They've got to work. Who's home with Johnny? Who's home with little Susie? Oh, maybe it's a babysitter. Or maybe they're sending them to if they're little kids, to a preschool or to some sort of what I call observatory of, well, I guess good caretakers so they can keep care of the kids and observe what they're doing. Is this really all the answer? Well, I don't know. The economy forces us into doing things. But I do know one thing. To make this epidemic stop, to make these sounds go away, the scream of the sirens coming through your neighborhood headed toward the local school, to get those sounds to stop, you've got to start being parents. I know, that's strange, isn't it? A lot of parents say, well, I am a parent now because at a certain age, my son or daughter has a smartphone, so I can put on these special apps and I can observe what they're doing or track them or know where they're at. And when they get home and they unlock the door, if their babysitter isn't there, I can see what's going on and I can say, Johnny, now this is what I want you to do today. Stay away from the candy, watch the television, and don't open the door to strangers. I'll be home in a few hours. Daddy and Mommy forgot to work. Junior sits at home I would say completely undone because he's alone. He's isolated. So we get out the old guitar. Maybe we strum a little music, or maybe we go to the Xbox and put on our favorite game called Blow Up the Neighbor, Start a War, Army Man, GI. Or maybe we want to do some kung fu fighting for hours while we're isolated, waiting patiently. Now, if you don't think that some of this stuff that high tech has brought into the homes doesn't affect the child that's going to the school, think again. If you completely deactivate their moral senses of right and wrong and put them into a fictional world of Superman on the actual battlefield, after a while they're going to lose all sense of realization of what violence is all about.